All right, hey guys, let's talk about hurricane prep. We have right now Hurricane Dorian bearing down on the East Coast, and so of course we need to be prepared because there's some chances of it going across the state. As of right now, it is Saturday, and it's projected, I think right now, landfall at Tuesday, and everything keeps pushing more east. But we can also run into some things as well. The cone is still huge. It's basically still covering just about all of Florida, so it could still come this way, and it's still a pretty massive storm. So I wanted to go through a couple of things that we are doing for our hurricane prep and what we have intentions for. So I'm going to flip this around and show you the boat. All right, so our marina during hurricane season requires that we double all of our lines on the stern and on the bow. So we already have double lines on there. One of the things when we talk about the docks, this is a fixed dock. So this is all stays in one place. We are in King's Tide right now, which if you're watching any of the hurricane stuff, you're seeing that that can have a huge effect on the surge as well, because what that means is big swings. Right now we're getting closer to a low tide, and the tides are swinging between 3 and 4 feet just on regular tides. So you can see here that on the high tide, the top of our little stairs there will be, I want to say the gunwales, which is this part of the boat right there. That's going to be 6-8 inches higher than our top step. It's going to be higher than that. It's going to be probably a foot higher because we're on a lower tide right now. When it swings all the way to a lower tide, though, the gunwales right here where you step on is just about even with the dock. So it swings really big already right now. So if that surges, and again, they're talking like could be upwards of 17 to 20 feet, you can imagine what can happen. And with a fixed dock, these lines, you can, number one, it floods over everything and the lines pull tight, and it can't rise any higher, so the water would rise up over the boat. If the water goes out of the bay, then it goes down, and you only have so much line here to keep you centered in your slip that it would actually hang your boat. So those are some of the more pressing things for us, is what is the tide going to do? And again, I don't think we're going to be greatly affected right now because of what they're showing it trying to push off the East Coast. But one of the things we'd do with the tropical force winds that are still predicted for us is I would center the boat. This line right here, I keep a little more snug so that it's closer to us so that we can get on and off of the boat. But come wind time, I would let some of this line out and try and center the boat. You can see here we're only at about 15 knots of wind right now, and it's gusting maybe a little bit more, but you can see how much it's rocking. And again, it's coming out of that east northeast, so it kind of has a broad reach on us. So I would let that out, try and center the boat a little better into the slip so that it has room to go and room to move and keep things on there. Would probably, I'm still deciding yet, we'll see what the forecast is showing, would probably grab another line and come off of this cleat. We have an empty slip next to us. Off of this cleat and go up maybe to here to midships, or up the one just in front of midships, right up in there, to give us a longer spring line. And I also do, because we have this empty slip, I could run another line to this cleat and again to this one on midships to give us, again, just more spring lines, just more lines in case something happens on there. I don't have much that I can do on our port side over here, but the one thing that I could do, and again, may, depending on the forecast, is run a line from our forward piling to this midship cleat as well to give us another spring to keep us from coming back too far. And it just helps distribute the tension off of one cleat, off the front, or anything else. So those are some of the things. Again, get it all nice and centered in the slip, keep our fenders out so that if we do go further And then you just try and keep it, again, so that you're not banging off of anything. Keep those lines in there. But put some fenders out. I do have some other fenders in storage, and I could bring those over. Again, the forecast is saying that maybe I don't need to do that at this point, which is a fantastic thing. I like it. Up forward here, just some different types of things in these situations is I have a couple of windows that leak. So I've taped them over. Now these are not water gushing in things. They're annoying when it rains leaks, and I actually taped these over in the first place to see if this is where my leaks were coming from. And then I just put lines over them to help, because it's just a trash bag. That's all it needs to do is stay dry. Put the lines over it to keep them from blowing in the wind. So some of the things I could do there, grab some of my anchor chain, put it over this as well, drape it over it just to keep the plastic from blowing. Not a huge thing there. I'm not too worried about that. That water drains right out. So you can see here though, just on our bow lines, we got nice big heavy cleats here going to the pilings and coming out. And again, we kind of have open water. Perfect slip for regular life, maybe not the perfect slip for hurricane conditions. So that's what we've got on the outside. Oh, I did want to talk this. So these are fixed docks, like I said. So we have to worry about that. Over at the harborage and different marinas, they have floating docks. So using this for an example, they would have these type of pilings in where these little posts are, and that would float up and down with the rise of the tides. With those, you don't have any slack in your lines like we do, because they don't have to accommodate for the rise of the tide because their dock rises with it and the boat stays right there. So they tie nice and tight. So that's the difference between different docks. So you have to kind of keep that in mind is, one, you don't want to be banging back and forth, and two, you have to watch the tides so that you don't hang your boat and start snapping cleats off that way, because you get too much tension on these, they're gonna give. It's in fiberglass, and so something's got to give, so it can rip those cleats out and cause you a little more damage there. So that's on the outside. Maybe adding additional lines and getting things centered up, but otherwise not too much else that we have to worry about. Let me show you what I do on the inside. On the inside, not a whole lot of things. I guess I missed a little bit as far as topside, because of the wind and everything else, I would pull everything that was outside, like those table and chairs or cooler, stuff like that. I would bring all of that stuff inside, and I didn't have much else going on out there. But inside, because we have this rocky motion, everything that's on anything would probably go ahead and fold up the table and chairs, just lay it right there on the floor, take all the computers off. Isaiah would have to get his gaming off of there.
And my gaming stuff, and bring it to the hotel and play Fortnite for 38 hours.
38 hours.
36 hours.
Yeah. So getting all these things up. Again, just even these chairs, you'd probably fold those up and set them down. All of my train wreck of a mess up there, that's called a working station. That'd get just, again, set on the floor, no big deal. May center some things like these chairs, just putting them center line, so that it takes away from weight on one side or the other, and to keep things from rocking. Because again, we live here, so you know, some of these things might just get rearranged a little bit so that as it's rocking, it doesn't dump things off, right babe? When the boats are rocking, don't come a knocking.
Speaking of rockiness, this is the rockiest it's been. Like
the wind's blowing
2
at like
weeks.
15 knots, so.
And it doesn't even bother me. It's blowing 15.
Something like that. I think it said
wow.
13 to 15.
Doesn't seem like that.
It doesn't bother you? You got your sea legs?
I got my sea legs, and I got my Saturday morning sleep-in face.
Yeah.
Cheers!
Yay! So other parts of this hurricane plan as well, again, depending on the storm, is really, what do we do? How long do we stay on board? It's not a big deal. Like I said, don't even notice the rocking as much as what we did when we first came on. Taking you back to when we first moved on, I think we were probably only at 10 knots of wind out of the east, so it was kind of blowing us like it is now, rocking us. We felt like we were dang near tipping over, didn't we, Isaiah?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that night, it was like we had all kinds of fun sounds. You got to get a win while we're on here, Zaid, or what? Oh, you got the keyboard out, huh?
Yeah.
Wah,
But look
wah.
at me on controller.
All right, show us.
Well, this is Arsenal.
While
so
I
it's on
talk.
this
All right,
one.
you play. So when we first moved on, we were feeling the effects really bad. But now that we've been on here for a couple of months, we just don't notice that kind of stuff. So, where was I going with that, Zaid?
I don't know.
I don't either. Oh, so one of the things we could do, how long do we wait? How long do we wait this out? How long do we stay on? Well, basically it's to our comfort level at this point. I'm not worried about the boat. It's been floating for almost 40 years now, and I think it's gonna keep floating right on past that. Some of the things that I check on a regular basis and would double check would be our bilge pumps. We've got 3. We've got 1 aft, we've got 1 midships, and we have 1 forward. And so I would double check those bilges, make sure that all the floats are working so that it drains things out. And also then I do have a couple of additional submersible pumps that I would, again, depending on what the forecast is now, would bring on board so that in case one of the pumps fails or in case something can't keep up, if it's just downpouring rain and it's going into that aft compartment, I can drop another submersible pump in there and give it some help on there. What about power? You know, a lot of people are looking at water, you know, stocking up on water, making sure they got batteries, all of those things. We have a 200-gallon holding tank on water, so I don't think we need to prepare for water. We're pretty good to go there. The other thing is we've got a couple 100 gallons of diesel and we have our onboard generator. So long as the bay doesn't get swept out and we still are floating and have water, I can run the generator. And because I say that because our generator is seawater cooled, raw water cooled, so it needs water to pump in, otherwise we're going to overheat. So that's why we need water below us for that. So we just kick on the generator, we can run the fridge, we can run our entire ship with the generator. So we'll keep cruising on there. So our situation's a little bit different than most because we have our own floating little city basically with that. So we can, we got our generator, we got our water, we got everything we need. You know, the toilet, obviously it's not on power, but it pumps into a holding tank and we're good to go there. So most of our plan is just making sure things are secure and finding our comfort level. And just like with anything else, this, as you look around at all of this stuff, is all just replaceable stuff. So if a storm gets bad, or if we feel like we are getting into the eye of something, then we'll leave. It's really that simple. We did 2 years ago, I think it was Irma, I forget all the storm names. We were in a very, very solid condo before we moved here, but we still left because at the time there was an expected storm surge of 4 to 8 feet. That would have put, we lived on the water, so that would have put water in our living room. That would have been very uncomfortable. We're in a position where we don't have to stay. People are like, oh, you left for that. And it's like, I don't want to be without power for 12 hours, 24 hours, 3 days, whatever it is. I don't want to sit in water in my living room. I don't want any of those things in any of those cases. So if we feel like something is going to be a danger to us, we're going to pack up and we're going to leave. We're going to grab, 3, 5, 7 days worth of stuff. We're going to grab any important documents, which that would be another thing that I would probably take off to our storage. If I thought things were going to be bad, is my box of important documents, laptop, stuff like that. Take that to a secure, dry place so that we don't lose it. Because again, fridge, replace it. Can you replace your computer, Isaiah?
No.
Ah! So again, if it's bad, we just up and leave. It's not a big deal. It's all replaceable. And other people, are obviously losing things way more than we are, but we're not willing to risk our lives for whatever this may be. It'd suck, but it goes on its way out. So those are kind of our plans. Lines, make sure we're centered, maybe add a couple additional lines, grab everything off top side, check bilge pumps, get the additional bilge pumps in, and everything else, we're rolling. So hopefully Dorian stays off. Obviously we have a fair amount of hurricane season left, and definitely praying for the people on the East Coast, because I feel like they're going to get a good brunt of wind and rain and maybe some storm surge. So definitely praying for those people on that side, and the people in the Bahamas as well, I think, are getting kind of crushed. So drop us some comments. Let us know your hurricane plans. You know, maybe you're not on a boat, but what you guys look at, how long you stay, what you know, if it's category 1, pretty rough, but do you stay through that? This one maybe a category 4. Those winds, I mean, it tears things up, trees, levels things. So drop us a comment, hit the like button, and if you aren't yet, hit subscribe and make sure you hit the bell so you get notifications when we upload a new video. And we'll see you in the next one.